Hello everybody. Today is Friday, February 17th. It's around 4:50 in the afternoon, and I wanted to come on here and do some cards with you because astrologically and just through world events and things, like, life has been pretty crazy lately. So I figured that, like I told you guys before, when I'm feeling this, or when I'm feeling called or compelled to come on, then I will, And so today is one of those days. So I was going to do the wild unknown and chakra cards, but I also wanted to talk a little bit about like the astrology of today. And I've been practicing astrology for 21 years, 22 years now. So, but a lot of the videos that I do right now are on my YouTube channel. And there are a lot of people, my YouTube, but also my Facebook. There are a lot of people on my Facebook that don't really know that much about astrology. So I try to really keep it very basic and keep it very simplistic for my family and friends so that they can kind of get a little bit of insight into maybe what astrology is and how I practice and what it does for me emotionally, mentally, socially, and otherwise, and just try to get astrology out to a wider audience. And I know a lot of my friends and family are familiar with astrology, and also familiar with the fact that I've been involved with it for a long time. But they might not really, follow the formats that we in the astrology community are, have readily available to us, like, the videos and, the astrologers that put regular videos out. So a lot of, just so my audience is aware, a lot of what I'm doing right now is trying to infuse astrology into more simplistic things to potentially reach a wider audience, and just how you can utilize astrology in your daily life. And I've done some basic astrology videos before to kind of do some educating, but basically, people that are into astrology will already know this stuff. People that are just learning astrology, this might be helpful. So each sign, there's 12 zodiacal signs in the wheel constellation, and signs that we utilize when we're talking about astrology. And also another note is, like, through agriculture and things, like, historically we used to use the moon signs, basically where the moon was in which sign, so that we could do our planting and our harvesting and our weeding. And we would do all our agriculture was based on the phase of the moon and what sign the moon was in. And so the moon does a little mini cycle every 28 to 31 days, also sunk up with our menstrual cycle, women's menstrual cycles, that allow for a planting cycle to take place. And so we can, if that is something, if astrology is infused in something so important as our food and our food production and food system, historically, maybe not so much now, but a lot of biodynamic farmers and permaculture farmers do use astrology, and still use astrology to plant and harvest, and to bring that energy into the physical format of the food. Because essentially all our food is physical light matter. It's photosynthesis, synthesized into a physical format for us to intake and consume. And that's why, I've been posting like some of my meals and things like that, just to kind of, not really because people care about what I'm eating, but more just to show other people how you can do simple, healthy things during your day, and take a little bit more enjoyment in some of our daily routines and daily practices, just, that can be kind of rote and mundane, like eating. So today I had an avocado with salt and pepper and a little bit of that 21 season salute from Trader Joe's, which I really like. and a few olives, like a handful of olives, and it was perfect. It was delicious. And the green, you know, of the avocado is really enriching for the heart chakra. So I was trying to kind of get ready for these videos, and a lot of times when I do these videos, I just kind of do them because I feel compelled to do them, and I'm not really focused on what I'm doing or how I'm structuring things other than just to give you the information. But today I took a little bit more time to kind of see where the planets are and where everything is positioned to give a more rich reading or rich review of the, you know, energetic frequencies that we're immersed in right now collectively. So each of the zodiacal signs in the 360-degree wheel is going to be differentiated by, you know, what's considered whole sign, or each sign is equated to 30 degrees. So when I speak of the degree that a planet is at in which sign it's going to be either 0 to 29 degrees of that sign. And once it hits the 29-degree mark, it'll go into the 0-degree mark, which would be considered the 30, the full 30. So it's 0 to 29. So the 0 is included in astrology, which I love. You know, look what happened to the banking system in 2000, you know, Y2K, because they didn't want the 0, you know, which represents the feminine archetype in computer coding and information patterning, 0 and 1 being male, 0 being female. But yeah, so the 0 is included in astrological readings. So that would be like the 30 mark, or the starting over point again. The peak and the new beginning is all held in that 0 and 29-degree mark. So those are called analytic degrees, and they hold a lot of weight in each of the signs. So, you know, Aries starts the zodiacal new year around March 20th, 21st every year during the spring equinox. And that will kind of usher in the 0 degree of the Aries season, which is the zodiacal new year. So right now the sun is at 29 degrees Aquarius. So that is, you know, that is a peak expression of Aquarian energy. And there will, you know, because Aquarius is traditionally ruled by Saturn and modernly ruled by Uranus, when we were able to discover Uranus and see it. I personally feel that Aquarius and Aquarian nature do both carry Saturn and Uranian expressions, but from what I experience, and more because Aquarius can be kind of cold and detached, and so there are attributes of like a Saturnian or Saturn qualities in the sign of Aquarius. But I personally see Aquarius in a modern day expression and where our society is at as a more Uranian expression. But they do both planets, Saturn and Uranus, are both contained in Aquarius, but Saturn has now become more of a representative of Capricorn, which is where the moon is right now. So the sun is at 29 degrees Aquarius, and the moon is at 26 degrees of Capricorn. So we're approaching that new moon on the 20th, I believe, of February, and that's going to be at 1 degrees Pisces. So Saturn is getting ready to move into Pisces, I believe, on March 7th. And so it's reaching those peak degrees of Aquarius. So we've got a lot of like Aquarian, Piscean air that we're breathing in, or that we're immersed in, and that being represented by the sun's position and the moon's position. So again, Aquarius is at 29 degrees right now, that analytic degree, that peak degree, and then the moon is at 26 degrees, quickly approaching the sun in Aquarius. And so, which will be, by the time that they meet, will be at 1 degrees Pisces, which will usher in the new moon for this lunar cycle. for February. So very cool. And also recently we had a sun conjunct, meaning sitting on top of one another. We've had a sun conjunct Saturn, and so the last couple of days might have felt, you know, that it has held a little bit more seriousness, or a little bit more goal-centered or goal-focused perspective, or like modus operandi of your day, or maybe what you're seeing around you. Just we're being called with Saturn conjunct the sun, you know, those are very large planetary bodies, and they hold a lot of weight, and that only happens once a year. And this year it happened in Capricorn, Aquarius. So, you know, basically, like, the way I saw that play out, I kept up with my daily habits and stuff, and got some pretty cool downloads, doing my healthy habits yesterday. One of them being grow slow, grow thorough, and be grateful for this wisdom that you're able to aspire and attain to, and be grateful that you can have wisdom maybe even beyond your years, as applied, as actualized. Be grateful that you can have it for this wisdom or this insight for all your ages, and not just at your golden years, 60 and above. So be grateful that at 38, this is what Spirit was telling me, or a soul download was coming to me, saying, be grateful for the wisdom that you've attained to. Because I remember being a child, and just thinking, like, what do I want to, we were going around the classroom, and everyone was talking about what they wanted to be when they grew up and got older. And even at a really young age, I was in between like 4 and 6, maybe closer to 6. But I remember thinking, when I get old, like when I grow up, I want to be wise. Like, that was something that I aspired to, or understood, held a lot of value, even at a very young age. So, that kind of came full circle yesterday with Saturn conjunct Sun, in that I remembered thinking that when I was a young child, and then also I applying that to, like, what I'm actually doing in my life, and keeping up these healthy habits as, like, my default setting, has been really, like, enriching in a very, like, in a very mature kind of way. Like, I guess for my adult self, I find a lot of joy in that, in keeping up with my healthy habits, because this life is harsh, and everything that we're seeing in the world. And I was going to talk about a little bit of the derailment that happened with all these chemical spills and everything, with the Saturn conjunct Sun aspect, because the Sun being an Aquarius and Saturn being Aquarius, getting serious about our humanitarian drives and our goals, and our Earth and our planet, and how we're going to sustain that and live on that, live in this place where people are so careless with things that could have devastating effects. And it seems like a lot of the attacks are on our health and our overall ability to just function in our human bodies. And that's something that I think has been driving my impetus to get back on a lot of my healthy habits, because after going through the pandemic and everything, it just seems like there's no leeway. We don't have, like, anybody necessarily looking out for us. If anything, we have, institutional bodies and governmental bodies trying to predate and take advantage of our ability to function as human beings. And then that's was complicated with our healthcare system, but even more complicated now because our environment is getting polluted. So, like I'm staying up on my water and my health tonics, and this is the Sacred Life kombucha, and I really find that after drinking this specific tonic, I find that my throat chakra, ironically enough, being deep blue, is more open and more able to express what I'm feeling internally. So it is doing its job, and I definitely feel a change in my body. And gut health, a lot of our neurotransmitters, most of our neurotransmitters that produce our brain chemistry is made in our gut. So the probiotics from kombucha and miso and kimchi and sauerkraut and fermented foods of all kinds, taking probiotics, eating yogurt and kefir, like those things really make a huge difference in the way that we see the world, because our biology is able to make the serotonin and dopamine and norepinephrine and all the chemistry and GABA and the things that produce calming effects and a stability of mental, emotional, social, internal climates. So nurturing our physical body, I feel, will have reverberating effects on the way that we communicate with our outside world, and speaking of Sun conjunct Saturn, what our standards are for our humanitarian efforts and our environmental and ecological efforts. You all probably know by now that the Living Tree operational model is like my big, gift to the world, as far as like what I've been able to transmute as far as my higher calling, and getting into solar energy for our country, and potentially working with people in those fields. I am a Leo sun in the 10th, so like it makes sense. Not to say that I know all the ins and outs of building and installing solar panels, but I'm definitely open to learn, and I am a very big picture thinker. So coming up, I like to think of myself in some capacity as like a social emotional engineer, where I can come up with bigger ideas and bigger frameworks that just kind of come to me intuitively, and then put them out into the world, and work with other people to manifest these things. So that's pinned to the top of my Twitter. If you guys are ever curious, I have videos on that I put out in 2015 online. But I haven't given up on that. I just, I'm a mom, and I have other priorities. So, I'm also, working on being somewhat of a mini galactic mother to myself, and applying those self-care and self-nurturing and mothering techniques and tactics to my own self and well-being, and how I take care of myself. So anyways, that was a lot to say that Mercury is also sextile Jupiter, almost exact right now. Sextile is a 60-degree angle between two planets, and that's a very harmonious aspect that requires a little bit of effort and initiative, which is, me coming on right now and expanding my ability to communicate. Mercury representing communication, and Jupiter representing expansion, and basically like an opening or a enlargement of potential communicative abilities. So I figured now would be a good time to come on and do this video. Plus I'm drinking my kombucha, so it's working. And these aspects, also the aspects that are happening in the skies right now, they also apply to our natal chart. Like you could how I would teach it is like me expressing to you all what all of this stuff. This is my natal chart coming through, also utilizing the aspects and the energies of the day. So my natal chart is in working with the aspects of the day to bring this message to you now, because I also have Mercury trine Jupiter in my natal chart. So that is a 120 degree. And it, once I get rolling, or once I start working with the energies of the day, if they're beneficial energies, then I can kind of apply my trine, my Mercury Jupiter trine, to the sextile that's happening right now, both of them being harmonious aspects between the planets. So anyways, we also have a Venus sextile Pluto right now, and that's applying, and that's about 2 degrees. So that's the transformative nature of our love nature. We might be delving a little bit deeper right now into the things that we love, and potentially working and honing on our self-care a little bit more, as well as working with our communication and expansive nature, because none of these aspects that I'm going through right now, none of them exist in isolation. They're all working together. So we might see some areas where the Mercury sextile Jupiter is more prevalent, and then we might see some areas of our life where the Venus sextile Pluto is more prevalent. Both of them, because they're both sextiles, are harmonious aspects. Pluto can be deep diving, and it is at that anaretic degree at 29 degrees of Capricorn. So it is, and the moon is also coming to a conjunction sitting on top of that Pluto. So there is going to be a lot of thought about the structure of our life, and the structure of our societal life, and the structure of our personal life, and the structure of our day. Like, because your day, each 24-hour period over the course of time adds up to your life experience. So, applying the aspects that are happening right now, we should be, if we're doing our inner work, we should be really coming to some profound places in how we want to move forward with how we want to structure the future of our lives and the present of our lives, by reflecting also on the past. Saturn conjunct the Sun was really good for that. That's separating now, so we'll be feeling that less and less over the coming days. But Saturn is also getting ready to move into Pisces, and so we're feeling, because Saturn's a slower moving planet, we are feeling the Saturn in Pisces vibe already, because that is approaching. We also have Mars sextile Chiron, and that's separating, and Mercury sextile Chiron, and that's applying. We also have Jupiter conjunct Chiron. Chiron is the wounded healer. It's an asteroid in between Saturn and Uranus, and an asteroid between Uranus and Saturn, as we get into the outer planets in the outer solar system. And Chiron represents the wounded healer in our chart. And with Jupiter approaching our wounded healer, or where the wounded healer is in Aries right now, I think at like 13 degrees, with Jupiter applying to that, expanding that nature, and Mercury and Mars also being in sextiles to Chiron, we might feel a desire to start working on some of the things, and maybe looking at some of the places where we are more wounded, and where we find it hard to take initiative, with Jupiter and Chiron both being in Aries right now. We find it hard to maybe take the initiative. And, it took me hours to even really want to come on, because, I'm waiting for the perfect feeling to come on. But sometimes we just have to keep at it and push through and just say what we have to say. So on an emotional level, we've got those kind of heavier, bigger planetary bodies holding more weight. But on an emotional level, with the moon approaching conjunction, sitting on top of Pluto, or sitting with Pluto, on an emotional level, not just our Venusian love nature, but on an emotional level, we can be feeling some of those deep inner rumblings of potential change and transformation, again, because that Pluto is at the 29 degree of Capricorn. So the moon is going to be moving into Aquarius shortly, but before it does, it's going to hit that 29 degree of Capricorn, and emotionally we can start to feel how those changing structures have an emotional impact on us, and how we structure our internal workings in nature, and thought processes and emotive, how we go about navigating our emotive nature. There could be a deep dive into that tonight. But we also have a sextile from the moon to Venus and a sextile from the moon to Neptune. And again, sextiles are 60 degrees, so they are a more harmonious aspect. They do require a little bit more action, maybe, or engagement. Like the trine can just flow so smoothly that sometimes it can go unnoticed, the 120 degree, because it can be such a harmonious aspect that the planetary energies just flow really smoothly. And typically, if you're going to have a trine 120 degrees, they're going to be in the same element. So like Pisces and Scorpio and Cancer, they're all water signs. So when a planet is in Pisces and a planet is in Scorpio or Cancer, that's going to be a 120 degree angle, most likely. But these are 60 degrees away from one another. So Venus is in Pisces, the moon is in Capricorn, and they are at those ending degrees. So they're approximately 60 degrees from one another. But so that Venus Neptune conjunction that we had believe it was yesterday. Right now it is separating at 3 degrees. So we still are feeling that enhanced mystical aura around us especially in our emotional sphere, and wherever Pisces is in your chart, depending on where your rising sign is. For me, it's in the 5th and 6th house. So, I have all these National Geographics I'm about to go through and cut up for my collage that I'm still working on from about a week or two ago. So I'll be doing that tonight, trying to work with some of those planetary energies and seeing how my artistic nature with the Venus sextile Pluto and the moon sextile Venus and Neptune, how my artistic nature can potentially be enhanced by the planetary energies right now. See if I can vibe on that the energy of the moment and kind of roll with that and coast with that for a little bit. And so I'll go ahead and get to the tarot cards and see where we are through our imagery and through our tarot. But that is, again, the sun is in Aquarius at 29 and the moon is in Capricorn at 26 right now. So in a couple days, in about 3 days, 2.5, 3 days now, we will have the new moon in Pisces. So our first card is the 3 of Wands reversed. And this is 3 of Wands. I like to reference my little book here because I love the little paragraphs. Plus the keywords and things, they kind of, they speak to me. So a lot of what I'm doing is channeling, just using my vessel, my body and my hands to kind of go through imagery of our human experience and see, along with the astrology, where our energy is at through the tarot as well. And it says envisioning the future. It is reversed, so there is some blockages to this right now, and maybe some of that over mystical energy can sometimes turn into a fog and give us a little bit more impediment to see some of this envisioning of the future. So we might not be able to see it clearly, but we're getting inklings of a future that is unfolding before us, both in great ways and in not so great ways. So envisioning the future, 3 of Wands reversed. So the energy is a little dense right now, or being misused, as we can see if we're envisioning this bright, ecologically sound future while our waterways are being polluted right now. So we are sensing the blockages to gaining and stepping into the future that we all collectively want and actually require as a necessity to survive. So envisioning the future, the Three of Wands indicates that you've had continued support from others, perhaps from your parents or two good friends. With their help, you formed a sense of self, of your values and morals. But now it's time to rely on yourself for guidance. Clarify your goals and cast others' needs and opinions aside. The future is infinite and it is yours. No one else can see through its layers to the light and shadow. So what that's saying is that, you know, we are able to rely on on assistance from friends and supportive networks and our communities and things like that. But there are a lot of things that we have to go alone at. And with the Three of Wands reversed, you know, this might be speaking to a little bit more internal soul searching and, you know, kind of peering into our heart a little bit more to see what it is our heart is really calling to on a personal level without the influence of others and their opinions and their notions on how things should be in the future. We might be being asked to do a little bit more soul searching to really step into the future that is destined for us and that is calling us forward. We might need to do a little bit more internal searching as opposed to getting opinions from friends and coworkers or, you know, the community at large. So that's what the Three of Wands is speaking to me right now. And then Five of Pentacles, and that's upright. And again, these are collective energies, so apply them where you will. And you can also, you can Google if you want to find a little bit more than what I'm giving on each of the cards. You can also Google Three of Wands reversed or Five of Pentacles upright. If any of these cards speak to you and you want to learn a little bit more information, maybe some of the keywords that are said by others in other translations might give you a little bit more insight into what I'm saying now. So the Five of Pentacles is upright, and it's sadness, worry, and illness. The Five of Pentacles is a card of hard times. It can come in the form of illness, job loss, financial trouble, or rejection. Above all, there will be worry, so much worry. This anxiety is counterproductive and damaging. You must find a way to quiet the mind during this difficult time. Rely on meditation or visualization to find peace. So yeah, like, you know, definitely with what we've been seeing on the news right now, there is a lot of collective worry and sadness for what is happening to our planet right now, what is happening in our own backyards, and what will eventually, you know, get into our overall air system and our waterways and could really, you know, have an effect. It mentioned health and illness, or, you know, people struggling right now with, you know, seasonal allergies and, you know, the flu and, you know, COVID's still not completely gone. And, you know, so there can be a lot of heaviness in that energy and in that card, and a lot of weighty thoughts on our consciousness and on our subconscious. And so that could be affecting us physiologically, you know, which is one of the reasons why I spend a lot of time in, you know, practicing self-care, because of the ebb and flow and the nature of how unpredictable our external environments can be. You know, so wherever we can set up healthy routines and allow that to be our default when we're going through emotional turmoil or social turmoil or, you know, whatever the hardship may be, where can we find that inner stillness and a solid foundation inside so that we can move through feelings of worry and sadness and illness as quickly as possible. that reminds me of the download I got yesterday of, grow slow, grow thorough. But it's not to say that when uncomfortable emotions come up that we aren't, feeling a desire for them to move, a desire for us and for them to move through as quickly as possible. So, try not to stay stuck in illness or worry that begets illness. Because a lot of times the mind definitely affects the body, and when we have too much heavy thoughts, it can really affect our physical vitality and our ability to be present and be available to ourselves and to others. So it can go a long way with healthy routines and trying to not stay stuck in illness or worry of any kind. And then our third card is the Empress. Very beautiful. That is awesome. I love when sometimes we have like a couple iffy cards and then we get a banger at the end. So that's pretty awesome. The Empress, and I love it. It's a big pink tree standing tall. That living tree is standing tall and shining bright. So I love the Wild Unknown Tarot. The imagery is just so beautiful. And the black and white with pops of color. It's something I really appreciate. So the Empress card speaks about creation, nature, and the mother. And in the major arcana, it is the third card of the major arcana. The Empress is the mother or the goddess of the tarot. Her energy encompasses all that is warm, fertile, creative, and sensual in the world. Her strength comes from being gentle and compassionate and loving without binding. When this card appears, it's pointing to either a maternal relationship in your life or the side of yourself that wants to love more. The Empress also suggests it's time for you to reconnect with nature. Go outside tonight and find the moon. And I love that because we are approaching a new moon, so it will be pretty dark out tonight, but you might be able to see a little sliver, just like in the card here. And yeah, like going back to the whole thing of like self-care, self-nurturing, learning those, even if you're not a mother, like learning how to mother yourself and really enhance and hone in on those mothering techniques and nurturing techniques. And a lot of times, that's a great reason to work on how we speak to ourselves internally, because children are very sensitive and very aware of other people's emotional environments and and it can affect them very deeply. So how we speak to ourselves internally can be how it can translate into how we speak to others and how we speak to both adults and children. And we can have a bigger impact on the younger generations than we even are aware of. And a lot of that can be maneuvered into a more positive direction just by watching and being aware of how we speak to ourselves and how we do speak to others, and even the things that we don't say to other people, the emotional environments that we carry with us that we maybe don't speak out loud, but people that are energetically and emotionally aware and sensitive, a lot of people, especially children, feel what you don't say more than what you do. So, being aware of that, that we are really entering a time where our inner worlds, it's very important for our inner worlds to be as tended to and as beautified, as we spend on our external presentation. So we want the inner world to be reflected, we want the outer world, if we spend time on our appearance and our looks, we ideally would want that to be a reflection of an interior world that hopefully is as beautiful, if not more beautiful, than our exterior presentation and the work that we do to present ourselves well to others. life becomes very empty and hollow, and there are a lot of miserable, disappointed people when so much emphasis is put on physical appearance and how things appear without having the substance behind them, behind that appearance radiating out. We can feel cheated in interactions and with relationships and with people when the physical visual perception is so alluring, but we're not getting that kind of substance emotionally and spiritually, that and intellectually, and just on an interior level that we need for intimacy to occur. And that's all forms of intimacy. On when it, soul family, your actual family, your friends, your relationships, your co-workers, your neighbors, your community members, the people you pass on the street. A genuine smile goes a long way when you're smiling from your heart and from the inside out. And I think that the more sensitive we become as a collective, the more that we can tell the difference in those nuanced things, the difference between a fake smile and a fake facade, and a genuine, sincere smile that is coming from the heart. So I'm going to stand tall on that living tree, Empress, because I really do feel a strong desire to come. And even with this, I hope that my ability to convey these messages to you and these channeled kind of prompts, I hope that they're coming. I hope that the self-love and self-nurturing and healing that I've been doing is coming across into these messages, and maybe giving you a little digital hug, through these messages and these communications, to reinforce that mothering nature is very, very needed. And we are seeing it in popular culture, even with like Rihanna and the Super Bowl. Like, she was out there doing her thing and being a badass woman, but she's a mother, and that you can tell that her artistic prowess is now becoming second to her ability to mother and be proud of her role as a mother and bearing the fruit of her children into this world. So, that's just one, popular example, but there's a lot of that, and those of us that are mothers, my son is 9, and I think about him every day. I'm making him art right now with these collages. So I very much look forward to seeing him. And every day that goes by, I work on being the best mother that I can be. And even though he doesn't live with me right now, I speak to him as often as I can. I see him as often as I can. And I send him all the love and joy and self recognition. I send him that love from afar, and I send him that acknowledgement that I recognize the work that he's putting in to himself and his growth, as well as my own, and wanting to be a mother that he can be proud of. That really means a lot to me. So let me go ahead and pull a chakra card. Oh, what is it? Workaholic. Oh, I don't know why I was going to say isolation, but workaholic. My camera's a little unfocused right now. And that's blue, that's throat chakra. So, feeling that, the work that we do in our life, the work that's going to mean the most to us, sometimes, maybe even a lot of the times, is not going to come with a monetary value or a financial value attached to it. The work that I'm doing here, I might eventually set up like a Cash App or something so that people could do donations when I do these videos. I work with a career counselor, and I've been talking to her about that because, I haven't been I just do this for practice and for fun right now, but, I definitely want to get more into astrology and tarot and divination and the metaphysical sciences and holistic health sciences, as you know, that is what I want to do as a career. So I definitely want to get more in line with being able to receive that benevolence that will allow me to do more and maybe get more tarot decks and get better lighting and things like that. But right now, you know, it's important for me to practice and get my message out and just practice coming on. I've got to hurry up because the light is fading here. But so the card meaning for our workaholic, or the little story behind it, it's the 5th chakra, the blue chakra, the throat chakra, our ability to communicate. And the workaholic, Brad Blueberry, that's what the imagery is of the card. And you can see like a little blueberry here painting, you know, and he's got stacks of paintings behind him. Okay, so the legend is, well, it says, Brad Blueberry, while I worked, my life happened. The legend, Brad Blueberry. Brad Blueberry paints and paints and paints. He has no time for anything other than perfecting his art. An elder Blueberry reminds Brad that one day he will be old and shriveled too, so he better live life to the fullest. Brad takes the advice and discovers that having fun enriches and sharpens his art. He finds out that his life is what makes his work valuable. So, yeah, definitely, definitely. The inspiration there is, are you waiting to complete your career before you live your life? Busy work may be helping you hide from the real issues. True story. Personal inquiry. Am I working too much and suffering from burnout? Is there something important that I'm avoiding doing? And these are great journal prompts too, if you guys ever want to, you know, sit down and write after you watch these videos and kind of see what comes out and comes up for you. But again, the personal inquiry is, am I working too much and suffering from burnout? And is there something important that I'm avoiding doing? The key ideas are feelings of inadequacy, transformation indicated, not being fulfilled by work, heeding warnings, refreshing your mind to improve your work. I love it. That's why, you know, I try to get my runs in every day, because the inspiration and the like cosmic downloads and the soul prompts that I get just while I'm, you know, working on improving my mental and physical stamina when I run and jog, I get, you know, it really helps my work, actually, whatever work I'm doing. I find myself being more motivated and finding more meaning in just my daily tasks. Keywords are talent, fun, and friends. And talent, fun, and friends can definitely make your work, anything you do work related, way more empowering and enriched, and where work and life become one. And they're not, you don't, you know, if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life type thing. The meditation here is, imagine contemplating something you are excited about. Now stretch your arms out. Be aware that you are floating on water. The water is at the perfect temperature and in harmony with your body. The lady of the lake is holding you. Feel yourself twirling freely and playing in this space. She invites you to relax into her. Enjoy. How beautiful. And I think those are great cards for today. And I think we've got some great aspects today. And again, Jupiter is going to be approaching Chiron in the next week or so. And we are going to be feeling a impetus and expansion on our will to want to heal some of the things that, and being in Aries, some of our ability, our non-starting ability, or having good ideas and not following through, or knowing what we need to do and not doing it. You know, I got offered a soda today and I turned it down and got a kombucha instead. So I'm working with my own Jupiter Chiron energies right now. But I love you guys, and it's the 17th of February. It's Friday. I hope you have a beautiful Friday and you have a great weekend. And maybe I'll come back on for the new moon at 1 degrees Pisces and talk more about that on the 20th. Have a great night. I love you guys. Bye.